So, patch 10.1 just landed, and you might be confused and don't really know where to start if you're coming back to WoW, if you've been playing WoW and you still don't know what's going on. Not to worry, you found yourself in the right place, and trust me, by the end of the video, you will know everything you need to get started, have fun, and enjoy all that Embers of Neltharion has to offer. Now, before you get to Zaralek Caverns, if you're just coming back and you haven't played the Forbidden Reach scenario, you will have to play the Forbidden Reach scenario to get to Zaralek Cavern, which is a pretty straightforward questline. It unlocks the Scarab Vaults, it unlocks the Onyx Amulet, which is the special ring that we've been using for a little while. It is what it is. They have mentioned that this is going to be in the game, so if you're coming back to 10.1 and you're still wondering why you just cannot straight up go to Zaralek Cavern, you will have to do the Forbidden Reach story, which is actually very short. What you will be experiencing in 10.1 is the new zone, the Zaralek Caverns, which, if you've been paying attention, is a cavern, a cave underneath the ground with new technology, no loading screens, and seamlessly transitioning below the Dragon Isles. And you might think that it's very reminiscent of Deep Home, but you might be right a little bit, but you will also be wrong a lot. To get to Zaralek Cavern, you will have a quest once you log into the game that will send you to Rathian and Sibelian, overlooking the big hole in the ground left by Fyrakk in this cinematic. If you haven't seen that, why not? It's actually pretty good. Not to mention that going into these two quests will get you started with the intro scenario for Zaralek Cavern, getting you acquainted with the zone, with the mob types, and especially the new faction, the Lone Niffin. The Niffin are mole people because they're underground, and they're moles because they dig underground. Makes sense. Now, they will also come with a new renown counter, similar to all the other factions that we've had so far, like Veldraken Accord and the Iskara Tuskars. And as with all renown counters, it will give you goodies. It will unlock different types of content, it will unlock crests to upgrade your items, more on that later, and it will give you all sorts of cosmetics and multiple activities similar to what you've been accustomed with so far in Dragonflight. It's only capped at level 20, which is going to be a pretty short grind, I would imagine, but that's fine because there's also a lot more to do. On top of all of this, you'll have Digging Buddies events, you'll have a little mole buddy that will send you on digs. Well, actually it won't send you. You will go together and unlock different style of treasures. On top of the normal treasures that you will get. On top of the rares that you will be able to farm, because new rares. And also new world quests, which are, you know, world quests, same as before. It definitely has the content that scales with your character, so more rewards the higher eye level you are in terms of gear. You will also gain a lot of flight stones from the world quests. That is part of the new upgrade system for your gear. Stay tuned, we will talk about that as well. And not to mention, on top of all of the new activities, you will have the Fyrakk Assaults, which are the events, the assaults, what we had so far with Primalist Storms or Primalist Assaults. These are the new thing. Fyrakk Assaults basically tie into the story of 10.1. Fyrakk itself will assault one zone every day, a different zone every day. And during this time, you'll have a zone that specifically gets bombarded by Fyrakk's minions. Now, what do you do in these zones? First of all, you'll have to kill the normal Primalists that will drop wards of Igira. Igira, I got it. Use 5 of these such wards in the Suffusion Crucibles to summon elites. Then you will kill these elites to loot 5 wards of Fyrakk. Use the wards at a Suffusion Mold to summon the Forge Master. Kill the Forge Master for the ever-burning key, and this will also complete the world quest for the assault. You can also use 3 of such keys, if you keep summoning them, to open supply chests in the assault zone for more loot. If you also kill elite proto-drakes, it will fill the Fyrakk's attack bar, and when full, Fyrakk flies over the zone and blasts it, and also drops disciples to be killed for loot. Completing the world quest rewards you with 411 eye level gear and 5 Drake's Shadowflame Crest Fragment used for upgrading gear. More on that in a second. Killing Fyrakk's disciples rewards you with 405 eye level gear and 6 fragments. The first kill on a disciple gives a quest that rewards a full crest, presumably once per zone for a total of 4 per week, and you'll also get daily quests in the area giving 385 eye level gear. And all of this gear comes with a new draconic themed transmog, because Dragonfly, It's very cool. Let's not forget that a new patch comes with a new raid. Aberrus, the Shadowed Crucible, the continuation of the story where we discover what Neltharion has been cooking up all those thousands of years in the past and fight all of his experiments, minions, and of course Sarkareth, the Drakthir that went rogue because he didn't get enough love from Daddy Neltharion. That aside, of course, with the new raid, we'll have tier sets, which are pretty cool. We've been discussing the tier sets on the channel. We'll also have special items that drop into the raid, similar to Vault of the Incarnates, although it seems like there's more this time. Also, we have discussed them on a video on our channel, which you can check out. And the raid is not the only new thing. Clearly, we have the Season 2 of the Mythic Plus adventure. This time with quite a few changes, most of them covered on our channel, and most of them coming with guides. Yes, you will have guides for each dungeon, some already out on our channel, some coming in the near future. So if you want to tackle the Mythic Plus Season 2, and you want to know all of the strategies, all of the kicks that you can do, all of the pulls that you can do and not do, maybe, check our dungeon guides on our channel. With that out of the way, the new dungeon pool will consist of Brackenhide Hollow, Halls of Infusion, Uldaman, Legacy of Tyr, and Neltharion as the last 4 remaining Dragonflight dungeons that we haven't done yet as a Mythic Plus content. And on top of that, returning, we will have Freehold, the Underrot, 2 of the Mythic Plus dungeons from Battle for Azeroth, and Neltharion's Lair from Legion, and a big surprise, Vortex Pinnacle from Cataclysm, which has received a nice little fresh coat of paint that makes it also smooth and cool looking. On top of all of this, big changes to affixes, which we've covered in multiple videos on our channel. The seasonal affix will be going away. We will no longer have a seasonal affix, but a lot of other affixes have gone away, like Explosive, Quaking, and Grievous. And now we have 3 new affixes, Afflicted, Incorporeal, and Entangling, which will start with key level +7. Alongside these, Volcanic and Storming are still affixes that will start with your key level at 7, and at level 14 you will have the second affix, Spiteful, Raging, Bursting, Bolstering, and Sanguine, which are themed to be affixes that start when mobs die, themed around that particular part of your encounter. These affixes have been changed drastically, so no longer will you start a level 10 key with all of the affixes enabled, but instead this will go all the way to level 14, making it a little bit easier for new people to get into Mythic Plus, and maybe also a little bit easier to progressively scale to a +20 key eventually to get the cap gear in terms of eye level for your weekly vault. And speaking of gear, big changes happening in 10.1 that might keep you a little bit on edge if you don't know exactly what's going on, and we will have an in-depth video guiding you through all the intricacies of the new gear, so I'm only going to skim over the main topics here because you probably will want to know this before going into the 10.1 grinding fest and prepping for the new season. First of all, Valor is going to be going away. The currency that you normally use to upgrade gear is going to be completely depleted. As opposed to PvP, which will have its own remaining upgrading system, PvE gear will have a more, let's say, centralized system, but might be slightly more complicated on the face of it. The first thing that you will notice is that you will get flight stones as currency that I mentioned before for pretty much everything you do, even starting the intro scenario for the cavern unlocking phase. Flight stones are basically your base currency. This could probably be the Valor replacement. Flight stones will be able to upgrade your gear from all the quests that you do, from the world quests as well, and it will get you gear all the way up to level 398. That's what you can get with Fly Stones. After Fly Stones, you will get Shadow Flame Crests. These crests are awarded from the Fyrakk Assaults that I mentioned before, and through special quests every now and again, and of course also through the Loam Niffin Renown upgrade system. These crests come in 3 types depending on the eye level that it will influence. First of all, the weakest crest is the Whelping Crest that will be able to upgrade the 398 to 402, 405, 408, and 411 respectively, all the way up to 411 gear. The next crest will be the Drake's Crest, which will upgrade to 415 all the way to 424 max eye level, and the last crest will be the Worm's Crest, which will get the gear from 424 to 437 respectively in the end. These crests will be rewarded from different style of content, they will be rewarded from difficult content, and not as often as flight stones. Keep your eyes peeled for this, more on it on the actual gearing level. And once again, as a clarification, the crafted gear will not work to be upgraded with these crests. Also, PvP gear will not work with these crests, and the really high-end mythic gear will not work through these crests. Think of Vault plus 20 keys rewards will not be upgradable, mythic raid bosses, dungeons, and all of that will reward the highest of high level will not be upgradable, because it's similar to how Valor doesn't get all of your gear to the max level possible to incentivize people actually be rewarded for tackling the harder content. Gear grinds aside, you will also have new changes to dragon riding. We will have 8 new glyphs in the Zaralek Caverns that will unlock 2 new dragon riding abilities. Ground Skimming and Land's Blessing essentially make it so that you can regenerate vigor once you're close to the ground, flying all cool style like in the movies, right over top of the ground. We will also have a new dragon riding mount, the Winding Slither Drake, which looks funky, but in the air looks pretty cool. On top of this, items that you might be familiar with will be slightly addressed. Legacy legendaries will have their correct item levels displayed. Elemental potions of ultimate power will no longer be bind on pickup. Potion of chilled clarity can no longer be cancelled and affects the global cooldown. Profession recipes that drop from raid bosses have been moved to Aberrus, the Shadow Crucible, on all of the difficulties, as opposed to Vault of the Incarnates only having them on Heroic and Mythic. The infamous puzzle box will be kind of nerfed somehow, where its on-use effect will be increased to 30 seconds from 20, and its mastery bonus will be decreased by 38%. Also, the Furious Rage Feather Trinket will have its damage decreased by 10% to incentivize players searching the new trinkets of the new patch and not sticking to the old ones that they might have been farming. Good or bad, this is the situation. Professions will get a bunch new changes as well, some of which will be a lot of UI changes, and since we're going to be getting a new spark, the Spark of Shadow Flame, to craft high-level gear, you will also have an option to choose which spark to use in terms of crafting your gear. Also, recrafting gear will remove the Season 1 sockets that the gear has attached to it. If you thought that you could pump a bunch of sockets into your gear and recraft them to a higher level and they can keep their sockets, you are partially mistaken. The Lariat also has undergone nerfs that you might have been aware of, where now it will still provide the same bonus, but only on a 5-second duration, and it will get to the full duration if you have all sockets added to your gear. So this is supposed to be at the same strength, probably the strongest neck piece in the game, but only probably by the later half of the season, where you will already have sockets in all of the socketable gear. Also, professions will come with new recipes for all new professions with cauldrons and all of that good stuff. We also talked about the items that you can craft with the professions in a specially dedicated video on our channel. All of these links for all of the videos that we already covered will be in the description, so check that out. And lastly, one last tidbit of content before we move into the characters and classes. Heritage Armor quests will no longer require you to be exalted with the respective faction for the non-allied races. I'm talking about orcs, humans, and so on. And last but not least, in the 10.1 patch, you will get a lot of changes to the characters and classes that you play World of Warcraft with. On top of the normal buffs and nerfs that are coming to all of the classes to make sure that you don't feel sad for playing a bad spec, and to make sure that other people don't feel sad about you playing a overpowered spec, all of these tunings will take into place. It might still be unbalanced, but that will probably change in the next couple of weeks. On top of all of that, there are a bunch of reworks and mini reworks to specs such as Shadow Priest and Devastation Evoker, a little bit on Preservation Evoker, and so on. In terms of the actual stats that you might be encountering with, Leech has been nerfed, and now the Leech rating will give you overall 25% less actual Leech. So keep that in mind if you were gearing towards heavy Leech investment. The player stamina and enemy damage has been increased by 25% to offer healers a different style of gameplay as opposed to the yo-yoing HP bars that we have been having so far in Season 1. Hopefully this will make all of the healers out there happier to play their role. Self-healing and sustain on top of all of this has been mega buffed for a lot, if not almost all of the specs in the game, to kind of match the extra HP that everybody will have. In terms of customizing your character, Worguns will get Calm the Wolf racial, similar to the Draktyr Visage, where out of combat you will default switch to your human form. Dark-Iron Dwarves will get 4 new skin tones and hair colors, and overall eyes will be changed as customizational options for all of the races, where now you'll have an eyesight category to change your eyes, and everybody will have blind eyes now. And to close it off, to get you to play with all of your friends from across the factions and across the servers, cross-faction guilds will be a thing in 10.1, which we talked about it as well. This will let you play with your Horde and or Alliance players within the guild, and as made clear from a recent interview that Ian had with Mr. GM, they will be looking forward into the future to implement easy queuing to stuff like time walking and LFR and heroic dungeons with the cross faction as well. This is, in short, a summary of everything that you need to know about the 10.1 guide. The patch looks amazing. There's a lot of new content, a lot of cool stuff to do in the game, so we hope to see you in the Zaralek Cavern. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and of course, thank you patrons for supporting the content that we do. You make a lot of this possible. We love you guys, and if you want to support us a little bit more, if you like the video, check the Patreon link down in the description alongside all the other links that we mentioned. Thank you for watching the video. See you in the Zaralek Caverns.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.